In this next demonstration, I'm going to show you a different way of finishing off a front edge for a shirt. So we've already seen that one way of doing that is by adding a facing. Another way of finishing off a front edge is by a straight band sitting behind and then being stitched through to the right side. Alternatively, the same straight band can be brought onto the top of the garment and stitched through. This one's a separate band, both very similar, slightly wider top stitching there, but that's brought onto the top side of the shirt so it can be in a contrast fabric if you wanted. Now another way of finishing off a front edge is this one, which is again quite traditional for a man's shirt. You've got this little pleat there, wider top stitching, but on the underside it's all nice and neat. What you need to remember when you're doing front openings is that this centre front line never moves. The centre front line stays the centre front line. If it wasn't, then it would no longer be the centre front line. And that is where our buttons are going to sit. So our button extension extends out from the centre front line. Now I'm going to show you how to do this one. This is all in one fabric. This is not a separate band that's stitched on. But we don't want to move that centre front line, which runs down the centre of that placket, which is where the buttons would sit. When I'm working something out, I often get a piece of paper and work it out on paper first, so I fully understand how my pattern needs to go. So I've done a sort of little working out piece here. And what would happen, this would be the body of the garment. This is my centre front line. There's my 2 centimetre button extension. This folds back. It tucks inside a pleat, which is here. And when that tucks inside, it's then sewn flat here, everything's flat, and then this gets pressed forward, and that raw edge of fabric is caught inside the pleat, and it gives a little lip like this, which is a nice finished off edge. But it's all in one. So having worked that out, it gives me an idea of what I need to do on the pattern. Now because we're creating a pleat here, we've got to put, I've done a 1.5 pleat, we've got to put that 1.5 into the pattern first before we can pleat it out. If we don't put that extra cloth in first of all, then we would be stealing, if you like, 1.5 out of what's already here, and then the garment isn't going to fit. So, I've got my paper, I've got my template, or block. So no seams on this. I'm just going to trace around it. Now, if I fold this again, you can see, now there's my centre front line. What I need to work out first of all is how big a placket I want. I'm going to stick to this, so it all makes more sense. So in other words, I've got a 4 centimetre placket here, from one edge to the other. So my placket will be 2 centimetres this side of the centre front, 2 centimetres the other side of the centre front. So if I just do a light pencil mark, 2 centimetres there. Okay. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to have a further 2 centimetres here when I've added on my extension. I'm not ready to do that yet. And then my buttons remain down the centre of my placket. Yes, whoops. And they remain on the centre front line of my template, because I know this template fits the body. But what's added in here is this little tuck, or this little pleat, which we're going to do. And that needs to sit at the edge of the placket. So I need to start that pleat here, which is the edge of my placket, 2 centimetres away from the centre front. So the easiest way of adding that in, because I need to add that extra amount in before I can pleat it away, is I just extend that line. So I've extended it onto the paper. I want to add 1.5 in here, because that's what I'm going to pleat away. So there's 1.5. There's 1.5. So if I move this line onto there, I'll have added it in. Hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to keep everything square and straight to grain, and I'm going to move this across 1.5, making sure I'm on my line at the top and I'm on my line at the bottom. So I've added that extra amount in that I need for my pleat. Now I can carry on as normal. So I'm going to draw in the centre front line and add a 2 centimetre extension. Okay, 2 centimetres, 2 centimetres. There's my one side of the placket, there's my other side of the placket, there's my centre front line. My fit is still the same, because this extra amount we've put in here is going to get pleated away. I'm going to remove this now. Let me just draw the darts in. Okay, there's our centre front. There's our 1.5 pleat, which is this, which is where this raw edge is tucked in. So far we've got this. Now I need to fold, this is going to become a fold line here, and it's going to fold back the 4 centimetres, and it's going to fall against this fold line here. So this is the outer fold line of my shirt. Now I need to add on the width of my placket, which my total width of my placket, as we know, is 4 centimetres. Yeah? And that's the pattern. Note how everything is kept on grain, yeah? Because I'm running parallel lines all the time. All I need to do now is add seam allowances on. Want to square off the bottom here. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm not going to take time cutting that all out, but I do want to show you something. I'm just going to cut up here, which is the edge of my pattern. Let me just cut this away. Now when I'm making a pattern, I often find myself actually folding the paper as if it's my fabric, and this is what I'm actually going to do, just like this little sample really. So I just want to make sure this is all okay. So I folded back my placket. Now all I've got to do is fold my little tuck. tucks away onto there, just a little tuck. So that extra amount of 1.5, which I put in, I've now folded it back away. So if I was to place the block back on, it's back to how it was originally. So the fit has not been changed. Okay, and then this folds back. There we are. And there's our front placket. And what's going to happen is, in stitching, just fold it right. In stitching, you would fold it like this. So that sits flat. You'd stitch here on the machine. And I'm stitching. Then that would get pressed that way. The stitch we've just done would show, because it would come through this side, and it would look like this here. And then we'll balance it out on this side of the placket as well. So we've got a stitch line going along there, and we've got our button sitting in the middle. The other good thing about folding this is while it's folded, I'm going to cut it. I just want the right angle off my centre front line to the fold. Yep, just make that a nice curve. Then when I cut this, while it's folded, cut it while it's folded. Trying to keep it flat on the table so I don't distort it too much. Okay. When I open this up, depending on the shape of my neckline there, will depend what happens here. You see, it's not straight, it's done a little bit of a whoopsie there, because when I fold it away, I want it to run in a continuous nice line around the neck. When I notch, this is important because I need to know where to fold the fabric. This is important because I need to know, once I've folded it there, I need to know that I'm going to sew here. So it's important that I know that I've got to fold it here. And once I've sewn it 0.75 millimetres away, I want to know that I'm then going to press it onto there. So my notches are telling me where my folds are. And once I cut it out, of course, I would notch down here as well. Probably the best way to do that is to fold that over and just make sure that when it's level at the bottom, I notch in the same places, and that way I know I'm absolutely running parallel. And that's how to do this shirt front. And then once that's prepared, we can put the collar stand and collar on.